Welcome to another segment of provocative conversations destined to provoke further thought and spark greater questions regarding God, church, and the religious establishments of both the past and the present. I am the proud heretic, Mr. Provocateur himself. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted in regards to your success and your wealth. Part 2. We are continuing along the lines of personal success and wealth, having the so-called favor of God upon your life, having the things that are rendered to you by the goodness and the purposes and plans and will of God ordained for you before the foundation of the world, before there was ever a Adam, before there was humankind as far as we know. How God pre-planned and predetermined your success and your wealth in what, as the church world calls it, my wealthy place, having the favor of God upon your life. God is not ripping off the poor to feed you rich, even though the stock market does that, and even though our current president seems to support that notion or support that practice, making sure that the fatted ones get fatter and the slender ones are punished even more, to the point of financial anorexia, medical anorexia, to the point of literal anorexia by pulling away people's food stamps. See, you don't understand how important food stamps are unless you've had to live by them. See, food stamps should be something that our government should give us. Why? Number one, the government owes a lot to its people, especially to those of African descent, but we know that that will not occur. And Mr. Spiritual One, Miss Spiritual One, those of you who want to live according to the Bible, you need to go back and read your Bible in regards to slave. Not only were they supposed to release those slaves like they did in the Proclamation of Emancipation, where however that goes, where the slaves were released, and I think it was 1864, 1863, 4, 5, in that time period. I guess some people were released earlier than others. I'm not sure exactly how that goes, but that history is out there. You can go double check it, not to prove me wrong, but to double check it to make sure that you get the exacts if that's what you need. But I'm just making a general point, so it doesn't take away from my general point that I don't know the exact specifics of it. In this context that I'm utilizing it in 1865, the way that we released, or in that time period that we released our slaves, or the United States released its slaves, we want to be so biblical and we want to live by the holy writs of the Bible. But yet when it came to our slaves, and when it comes to giving back to our slaves or our descendants of slaves, we don't want to do that. What you were supposed to do, according to the Bible, not only in the 7th year were you to release those slaves, and slavery in the United States lasted much longer than 7 years. Bible toters, Bible quoters, and they say this United States was founded upon this Bible. Oh yeah, what parts of it? Because it sure wasn't the part when it dealt with slaves. It said you were supposed to release them in that 7th year. And on that 7th year that you released them, you were not supposed to release them empty handed. They were supposed to go away with goods, with stuff, with part of the wealth, because they were the ones, it was their backs and their strength that granted you, or that got you that wealth, that got you that success. So you weren't supposed to send them away free the way that you have. Now, not only are we not going to give the mules and the acres but we're not even going to allow them to have food stamps. That's unfortunate, especially when we get down to it. We know that people abuse everything given the opportunity. Certain people will abuse whatever they have access to, whether it's alcohol, whether it's legal drugs, illegal drugs, whether it's through theft, whether it's a female. We will abuse, as human beings, we will abuse almost anything. But so much abuse, so much waste, so much thievery goes on at the top echelons of our society, or the top echelon of our society amongst the wealthy, who, if you count that which they extort, that which they underhandedly obtain, the wealth that they obtain through their extortion and whatever, and through stepping on the necks and backs of others so-called beneath them, if you were to count up all that they obtain through their unjustly ungodly gain, it would be nothing in comparison to the smallness of what food stamps is paying to these people who need food stamps. I too, my family too, were once on food stamps. Those who may remember or recall when I had no vehicle. I had no vehicle because I was stepping out on a word that God stated to me in 1999. Really, he stated to me in the early 90s, but it was actually implemented in 1999. But in order for me to maintain my pretty new vehicle, it wasn't new, but it was pretty new. It was only a couple of years old. It was a very nice vehicle, no problems with it whatsoever. I don't even know if it had 50,000 miles on it. Maybe it had 30-something thousand miles on it. At the point that I had to give it up. But I had to give that vehicle up because it was, if you don't give this vehicle up, we can't give you food stamps. And if I can't have food stamps, then my family is going to be in trouble. See, I didn't have the pot of the church to be able to pull from whenever I wanted it. I didn't have the mic where I could just make a statement and then people would come up and flock me with money and love offerings and whatever else. I didn't have it where I can go around to my preacher buddies and tap on their shoulders and say, hey, man, I need a couple of dollars. Let's do this together. Let's do a revival and let's raise some money, and I can get half, or I can get 60% or 70% of what you pick up in the offerings and whatever. I didn't have that. So I had to depend on food stamps when God told me to step out and do some things. Those food stamps were a lifesaver or a God sent. Then for us to lose those, I didn't lose those food stamps. I ended up, as I got better, I weaned myself off of those stamps and was glad to have given those stamps back. But what I'm saying is I needed those food stamps when we had them. My family needed them, and we did not abuse those food stamps. We actually used those food stamps. So for the current administration to be ripping people off, and those of you who you have your jobs and you have your wealthy place, you have your so-called success, the favor of the Lord is somehow upon you and not upon us. So you're living in your favor. You're living in your wealthy place. You're driving what you drive. Then you look down on other people and you say, there's something that you're not doing because look at what I obtained because of what I did. You may even say the Lord gave it to you, but then your attitude about everything and the way that you drive your vehicle around town and look at other people and the way that you want to gloat over your home and the way that you deal with people who are less than you, and you feel that you can't walk in their home because their home doesn't look as good as yours. Their home isn't as fancy as yours. I've had people come to my residence just to peek and see how it looks. I can tell you now, my family and I, we do not live to the level that we desire to live. However, inside of me, I am in a greater place than where I am physically. If you judge me based upon where I live, if you judge me based upon how I dressed, if you judge me based upon what type sneakers or shoes I have on, now that's going to be a hard judgment because I like sneakers, so my feet are straight. So you come judging me, you got a problem because I got some classics. You see what I'm saying? I got some good stompers. So watch yourself there. You better come strong when you come because my game ain't weak in that area. But anyway, you look upon other people because they aren't where you think they should be, or they aren't where you think you are, not realizing that it had nothing to do with you, brother. It had nothing to do with you, sister, for where you are, just as it has nothing to do with us necessarily with where we are. It is where we are. But don't judge me based upon the outer appearance. Don't judge me based upon my possessions, because I am wealthy. You look at these recordings. I am wealthy. I am full of the wealth of the Lord. Yeah, but God don't have you lacking. Yeah, well, I don't know what kind of God you serve. And it's apparent that you don't even understand the God that you do serve, because the God that you do serve does exactly what he does. He kept the children of Israel being whipped and working like slaves for over 400 years in Egypt. And you're saying what God won't do? He had Joseph live in a dungeon. He had Jeremiah in a well, in a punishment up underneath the city, if I'm correct. If I say Joseph, I meant Jeremiah if I didn't say Jeremiah. But he had many of these people struggling. What are you talking about? You don't understand. Sure, we can pick out people who didn't struggle. We can pick out how Isaac got a foal and he sold in the land. We can pick out what Abraham had and whatever else. But we can also go back and look at Job, at how much he lost. Now, we'll look at how much he gained afterwards, but look at how much he lost and how long he may have had to stay in that state. What if he doesn't accumulate? What did John the Baptist have? What did Paul have in the end? We twist up the truth of the matter. We take the true sting of life out of life in order to give people a fake religion, a fake perception, a fake concept of how God operates and who God is. Just because you reach your wealthy place before others does not give you the right to now look down upon them and look at them beneath your nose with a frown, or like you're too clean. There were family members that I have, whether in South Florida and other places, who definitely did not live the way that I lived, or the way that I live. It does not live the way that I live. But never have I gotten to the point where I say, I'm not going to their home. I'm not going over there. They're beneath me. I would even tell my family sometimes, look, we're going over here. Be cool. People don't have what we have. People are not where we are. Let's respect them. Don't look down on them. Don't look at it as being nasty. You get down right with them. Okay. We are not better than them, and we could be anywhere at any given time period. So we don't look down on anyone. And then when we go to other people's homes that we know, they're living very luxurious and they're living elaborate and they're living at a much higher level than we are. I look at it and I say, let's appreciate what they have. Let's not frown ourselves up at what they have. Let's not get jealous or anything. And let's most of all protect what they have and respect what they have, because we don't want to mess up or break anything. Let's do them right. And then when we would leave their homes, we would try to clean up. We want to leave their place as good, if not in better condition than when we got there. We don't want to put harm or hate on anybody who's doing better than us. We understand where success comes from, and we understand how quick success can leave us. And we should not be those or amongst those who become high-minded. We bump our heads and we get it twisted as to how we are, where we are, and how we got here, why we're here. Don't get it twisted. That's what we're talking about. Not getting it twisted, not getting into our wealthy place, and then we begin to boast and brag about what we've done. In Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 6 through 9, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 6 through 9, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 6 through 9, it says, "For you are a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for himself. You are a special treasure above all the peoples on the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love on you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any other people. For you were the least of all peoples." He said you had the least amount of people in your nation. Remember, the children of Israel started with Abram and Sarah, and then Isaac and Ishmael, but Ishmael wasn't part of this promise. But anyway, Isaac, and then Isaac had his sons, and then his sons, Jacob and Esau. Jacob ended up having his 12 sons, the 12 sons of Jacob, including Joseph and Benjamin, and I don't remember all of them right now. My mind is everywhere, so I don't want to lose thought. So I just say, which included Joseph and Benjamin and Dan and Gilead and all of these guys. We won't go into them. You can look it up in the Bible who all the 12 are. I don't even know it right now, but that's not even important for where I'm going. So to stay with my thought, the Lord said, the Lord did not set his love on you or his favor on you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any other people. You didn't get the position because your family was so grand and so great. You're not where you are today because of what your family did or what lineage you came from. He may have used some of that, but that wasn't why he did what he did for you. Because you were more in number than any other people, for you were the least of all the different nations. But because the Lord loves you, has nothing to do with you, your success in your wealthy place. And because he would keep the oath which he swore to your fathers, the Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you from the house of bondage, meaning Egypt. Therefore, or I'll say from the hand of the Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Okay. Then it goes on to say, therefore, know that the Lord your God, he is God. Understand that. He is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments. Has nothing to do with you. Look at chapter 8, verses 7 through 17. Look at what he's doing now. Look how we walk through this. We're going to plow through these verses and just get the simplicity of the verses. Let's go for it. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 7 through 17. And it says this in the New King James Version, starting at verse 7. It says, "For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land." God is doing this, not you, not any of your doings. The Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, because of his love. Now, this is a land of brooks of water. You just got flowing water in this desert area, this dry area of fountains and springs, and you didn't even have to build it, that flow out of the valleys and hills. It's a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey, a land which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing. It's a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you can dig copper. When you have eaten and are full, God said, now remember, I'm bringing you into this successful place. I'm bringing you into this wealthy place. Now, in verse 10, now when you have eaten and you are full, then you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land which He has given you. You didn't give it to yourself. You didn't put yourself in the position you're in. Then it says in verse 11, beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments, his judgments, his statutes, which I command you this day or today, lest when you have eaten and are full and have built beautiful houses and dwell in them, and then you bump your head, and when your herds and your flocks multiply. Let's go back to that. When you have eaten and are full, you don't need food stamps anymore. You don't need any type of assistance anymore. You can shop at Publix rather than Piggly Wiggly, rather than the 7-Eleven, rather than a Quick Stop. You can go to Whole Foods. You can go to these places that you could have never shopped at for your groceries at one time. You can go to 5-star restaurants. You can go to 5-star hotels. When you have eaten and are full and have built beautiful houses, beautiful mansions, 5, 6, 7, 8 bedroom homes on 5 acres of land, and dwell in them. And when your herds and your flocks multiply, your material possessions, your vehicles multiply, and your silver and your gold are multiplied, and all that you have is multiplied. That's your wealthy place. When your heart is lifted up, now there's the pride, there's the haughtiness, there's the arrogance. When your heart is lifted up and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage, who led you through the great and terrible wilderness, in which were fiery serpents and scorpions and thirsty land. It was dry where there was no water, who brought water for you out of the flinty rocks, who fed you in the wilderness with manna, which your fathers did not know, so that he might humble you. See, there's that humility. Look at the success, look at the wealth, look at the warning of becoming haughty, high-minded, your heart lifted up, pride, and then you bump your head. All of that's mentioned. And he said he did all of this so that he might humble you and that he might test you to do you good in the end. Then you turn around in verse 17 and say in your heart, my power and my might, or my power and the might of my hand have gained me this wealth. This wealth, this success that I have is because of me. And now you look down other people because they are not as fortunate as you. So you see the hand of God on you, but you see the curses of Deuteronomy on them. That's how you view. That's when you know you have probably moved over into not only the wealthy place, but the unhealthy place of pride. Your heart is now lifted up. In Deuteronomy chapter 9, verses 1 through 8, it says it like this. Deuteronomy 9, verses 1 through 8, it says, Hear, O Israel, you are to cross over the Jordan today and go in to dispossess nations greater and mightier than you. He said, I'm going to have you to cross over the Jordan, and you're going to go in and you're going to dispossess, or you're going to kick everybody out of the nations that are greater than you. They're mightier than yourself. There's cities great and fortified all the way to heaven. In other words, they have high walls and it looks like it goes all the way to heaven. It's just high, and they're fortified and they're strong, and these people are living in protected neighborhoods, fortified to heaven. People great and tall, the descendants of Anakim, whom you know and whom you heard it said, who can stand before the descendants of Anak? They must have been mighty warriors as well. They must have been very tall. Nakimbo or whoever that basketball players, a bunch of Shaqs out there. Therefore, understand today that the Lord your God is he who goes over before you as a consuming fire. This has nothing to do with you, children of Israel. It has everything that God is doing and that God is paving the way for in his own might. He, not you, will destroy them and bring them down before you. So you shall drive them out and destroy them quickly. God is actually supposedly destroying them and going before you. But you're going to have to drive them out. But he's the one who went before you. As the Lord said to you, don't think in your heart after the Lord your God has cast them out before you, saying, because of my righteousness, the Lord has brought me in to possess this land. But it is because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord is driving them out from before you. It is not because of your righteousness or the uprightness of your heart that you go in to possess their land, but because of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord your God drives them out from before you, and that he may fulfill the word which he swore to your fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In verse 6, therefore understand that the Lord your God is not giving you this good land to possess because of your righteousness, because of your genetics, because of your goodness, for you are a stiff-necked people. You weren't really listening to me anyway. You weren't really doing anything good. Remember, do not forget how you provoked the Lord your God to wrath in the wilderness. From the day that you departed from the land of Egypt until you came to this place, you have been rebellious against the Lord. Also, in Horeb, you provoked the Lord to wrath, so that the Lord was angry enough with you to have destroyed you. He's just reminding them, look, you did a lot of things that you shouldn't have been doing. And I still brought you into this wealthy place. And now that you've gotten into this wealthy place and you have this favor of me, or this so-called favor of me upon you, now you get the big head. Now you look at your success and you look at your wealthy place and you forget where you came from. You forget the things that you were doing. You forget how you were living. You're only here because of my goodness. You're only here because of what I promised and what I've already set myself to do in spite of you, in spite of what you weren't doing, despite you, whether it's despite or in spite of, whatever it is, irregardless of you, I did what I did. I'm doing what I'm doing, but it has nothing to do with you. So if the story was really told, which you don't need to forget, if the story was really told, you did nothing so grand and great yourself. You should have been in prison as well. You should have been whatever as well, but it wasn't written for you to. But according to your human deeds, you deserve less than what you've gotten, and you've deserved more than what you've received. Okay? 2 Samuel chapter 7 verses 18 through 21. 2 Samuel chapter 7 verses 18 through 21. In the New Living Translation, I'm going to do this one in. Chapter 7 of 2 Samuel verses 18 through 21 in the New Living Translation, and it says it like this. It says, then King David went in and sat before the Lord and prayed. Who am I, O sovereign Lord? And what is my family, God, that you have brought me this far? Yes, God. And now, sovereign Lord, in addition to everything else, you speak of giving me a lasting dynasty, me, David? Do you deal with everyone this way, O sovereign Lord? What more can I say? You know what I am really like, sovereign Lord. For the sake of your promise and according to your will, you have done all these great things and have shown them to me. Lord, you know what I'm really like. And for the sake of your promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and according to your will, that's the most important thing. Because of his will, you have done all of these things and have shown them to me. See, that's the heart that you should have when it comes to your success or the success that you come into. the wealthy place that you come into. You should not be so arrogant and say what I did and what I have done. And that's the wrong spirit. That's the wrong heart. That's the wrong mindset. Where is the church? Where is the church in the President of the United States? Where is the church? Why isn't the church in his ears in regard to that? Why is the church kissing on his booty instead of telling him about all of this sin of haughtiness or all of this disregard? I won't even call it sin. I don't like to deal with the word sin. I know that's going to mess with some people who themselves are caught up in sin, but they act so holy and they want to be so holy. What do you mean? Don't call it sin. That's what the Bible calls it. Exactly. So why do you keep committing it when you know the Bible calls it that? Why are you committing it? Why are you living in it? Let that woman go. Go back home to your wife. Let that man go. Woman, let that woman go and go back to your man. Man, let that man go and go back to your woman. You know it's sin. You uphold the word called sin. So why are you living in it? Get your hand out that offering. Leave it alone. Put it back. Get some outreach ministries and begin to give it out to the people. It was never yours in the first place. Yes, God took to give in the Old Testament. He did take the tithes and offerings in order to spread it around to all the hundreds of thousands of Levites, the descendants of Aaron who were working in the temple. The singers, the musicians, and all of those people, they received from the hands of the people as they worked in the duties of the temple. However, there were definitely much more workers in the temple than there are in these church houses now, because most of the people that you hire, they're not even hired for pay. They're just peasants. They're mere peasants. We call them volunteers. So we utilize them and we promise them the world, but we never give them anything. We're nothing but clouds without rain, promising clouds without ever delivering rain. And we call that the hand of God, the blessings of God. The Lord is going to bless you. No, you open those offering plates and bless them. The Lord is going to bless you. Yeah. Well, why don't you wait on your blessings until we receive ours? The parent shouldn't sit down and eat before the child anyway. Mess you up, huh? Well, let me keep going. So we do all of this here under the name of God, in the name of God, and we rob people, despite the fact that the Bible says that the laborer is worthy of his hire. The Bible says, do not muzzle the ox that treads out the corn. So now you take all the offering. You only have 3, 4, 5 people working full time, and they're not even getting benefits. And then you lay them off just as quick as you can if you can't buy your new vehicle, if you can't buy a bigger house with a bigger bathroom, despite the mansion that you already possess. So you lay these people off who were faithful to you. You lay them off so that your pockets can stay fat. And then you put a plea out for volunteers so that you can put them in the paid position without paying them. And you just keep getting fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter. And they keep getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. Do you know that society and the state calls that child abuse? When those under your care are not receiving enough to even have the basic necessities in order to survive, that's child abuse. That's child neglect. There's some spiritual abuse. There's some spiritual neglect in what preachers, pastors, and churches are doing. But yet you're getting fatter and you're using the verses where it would tell them to bring this stuff to the storehouse. But the stuff that was being brought to the storehouse, sir, ma'am, There were so many workers in the storehouse at that time that you had to bring that much stuff to feed all of those workers. We don't have as many Levites now today. So how is one person or two person or three people able to be fatted the way that you are and no one else gets a piece of the pie? What is wrong with that? That is a problem, sir, ma'am. Especially when those who are greatest amongst us are supposed to be the least. You are the least, sir, ma'am. Do you not realize that? That is a problem. Houston, we have a problem. Church, you have a problem. But anyway, God said, I'm going to read King David again, starting at the end of verse 17. He said, you speak as though I was someone great, God. What more can I say about the way that you have honored me, God? You know what I am really like. God knows what you're really like, sir, ma'am. So what you got and where you are and the position that you hold, the rank that you hold, sir or ma'am, the authority that you hold with that badge and that gun, officer, Miss Correction Officer, I got a few words to say to you too. Watch how you treat other people's kids. I don't care if those are grown kids in there. Watch how you treat them. You are only one crime away from being right where they are. And if the story was told, how many times have you broke the law in bringing stuff into those institutions to those guys? Women, officers, how many times have you sold your body to them for something? Or just given your body to them for something? That's a crime, ma'am. That's a crime, sir. But yet you beat these guys down and these women down in these institutions, and you put them in solitary confinement, and you do them injustice, and you go home, you go to your Christmases, you go to your Thanksgivings, and you treat them like crap, and you come back all clean and fatted up, and then you treat them like crap. Sure, some of them are not the best in our society. Some of them are the worst, so-called worst within our society. But they are human beings, and they are someone else's child, and they belong to God as well. And you, my brother, you, my sister, you need to watch how you're treating them, because one day you're going to have to give some type of account to it. I don't know what type of account. I'm not causing or speaking judgment on you, because it wouldn't work anyway, because how can I bless whom God is not blessed, and how can I curse whom God is not cursed? I'm just telling you, your seeds have potency to them, and your seeds will produce eventually. So you need to step back and check yourself and understand that you only possess the success of that badge because of who God is, and because of reasons unbeknownst to us as to why he does what he does, why he sets up one and puts down another. Humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you. You know what I'm really like, God. For my sake, O Lord, and according to your will, you have done all of these great things. For my sake and according to your will, you have done all of these great things and have made them known to me. That's the mindset you're to have. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20, verse 44, Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 44 in the New King James Version, it says, "Then you shall know that I am the Lord, when I have dealt with you for my name's sake, not according to your wickedness, but for my name's sake, nor according to your corrupt ways." Listen. God is saying, I know your corrupt ways. I know your corrupt doings. Stop acting like you're all that. I dealt with you for my name's sake. You're in this wealthy place and you have the success that you're having, the promotions that you have, the vehicles that you have, the homes that you have, the things that you have, the success that you have in academia. Because of me, for my name's sake. It wasn't according to the bad things that you were doing, the things that you were doing, that now you're looking down on others for doing. Exodus chapter 23, verses 27 through 31. Exodus chapter 23, verses 27 through 31. It says, I will send my fear before you. I will cause confusion. See, it wasn't you who wins these battles the way that you're winning them. I will send my fear before you. I will confuse. I will cause confusion. God never causes confusion. I will cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and will make all of your enemies turn their backs to you. Running, that is. I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before you. I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little, I will drive them out from before you until you have increased and you inherit the land. Let me tell you something. Oftentimes, God will do what he's going to do with you slowly. God is a God of process and a God of progress. God is known for doing stuff in phases and stages. Sometimes people get there before you do, sir or ma'am. And other times, sir or ma'am, God will have you go the long route while he's doing what he's doing. And like he said in verse 29, I won't drive them out from before you in 1 year. You're not going to get to your wealthy place in 1 year. You're not going to get to your success in 1 year. Because if you do, just like it says, lest the land become desolate. Because if you all move into there quickly, well, all of you will probably take all the resources out of that area and it'll become desolate. If the land becomes desolate, the beasts of the field become too numerous. I think that has something to do with the ecosystem. If you know anything about science, in science, we have the ecosystem. Science says we have this ecosystem out here in nature. You have the predators and the prey. With the predators and the prey, if you have more predators than prey, then you get an imbalance in the ecosystem. Meaning, if you have more snakes than rats, that's gonna be a problem. Because what do the snakes eat once they've eaten up the rats? Or if you have less snakes but more rats, then now you have a rat infestation. So everything has to be done in a successive, if I could say it, manner. I don't know if I said that right, but everything has to be done in moderation and in a balanced way. God is not going to make the ecosystem imbalanced in order for you to get to your wealthy place before you should. In order for everything to happen the way that God means for it to happen, God has to do it little by little. I will drive them out from before you until you have increased and inherit the land. Some people's wealthy place, such as my own, has not come easily, has not come overnight, but other people's have or has. I don't understand it. All we know is we have to believe whatever it is that God has promised us to do. We have to believe it in order to get through whatever it is we are assigned to get through. In verse 31, it says, and I will set your bounds from the Red Sea to Philistine, and from the desert to the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out. Yes, you went to school, sir, ma'am, but it was God who set up everything for you to walk into school. Just like God set up those people, confused them, and put them into the hands of the children of Israel. So it says, in order for the children of Israel to do their part as well. But it was only because of God sending the fear before them and supposedly causing confusion and causing the enemies, many of them, to run away. And because God sent hornets before them to drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittites before them, God was driving them out. And then we did what we had to do. But the success that we had came from what God did, not what we did. Because if we did what we did apart from what God did, or if we do what we do apart from what God does, it wouldn't be successful. You say, well, the drug dealers are doing it without him. Are they? Are they? The hand of God, that's all I say. And you shall drive them out before you. Look at Deuteronomy chapter 8. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18 in the New King James Version, and it says it like this. And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth. You understand that? It is God who gives you power to get the wealth that you have, to be in the wealthy place that you are, sir or ma'am. So never do you get the big head. Never do you look down on those underneath you. Do you understand this is because of God that you possess what you possess, sir, ma'am? It has nothing to do with you, but it has everything to do with God. In 1 Chronicles chapter 29, 1 Chronicles chapter 29, 1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 12, it says it like this in the New King James Version. Both riches and honor come from you, God. Both riches and honor come from you, God. Both riches and honor come from you, God, and you reign over all. In your hand, God, is power and might. He just said it is he who gives you power to get wealth. In your hand it is to make great and to give strength to all. It's because of your power and your might, God. Look at what it says in the book of Hosea. In the book of Hosea, Hosea chapter 2. Hosea chapter 2, verses 5 and 8. This is what it says in Hosea 2, 5 and 8. Chapter 2, verses 5 and 8. New King James Version, it says, for their mother has played the harlot. She who conceived them has behaved shamefully. For she said, I will go after my lovers who give me my bread and my water. My wool and my linen, my oil and my drink. And then verse 8 says, for she did not know that I gave her grain, that I'm the one who gave her new wine and oil and multiplied her silver and gold. God is basically saying, my children, these people, they went out and they lived like a harlot, and they felt that what they possessed came from the things that they were doing so good. And verse 8 said, but she didn't even know that it was me who was giving her all of that. It was me who was giving her that new wine and that oil and multiplied her silver and gold, which they prepared for Baal. In Hosea chapter 14, verse 8, listen to what it says. Ephraim shall say, what have I to do any more with idols? I have heard and have observed him. I am like a green cypress tree. Lord, your fruit is found in me. Your fruit is found in me. But then it goes on like this. O Israel, stay away from idols. I am the one who looks after you and cares for you. I am like a tree that is always green, giving my fruit to you all through the year. Don't you know it is God who's providing for us, who provides for you, sir, ma'am? It's not about what you're doing. It's because God is like a tree that is always green and giving his fruit to you all through the year. That's how you're able to make your car payments, sir, ma'am. That's how you're able to live in that house you're living in, sir, ma'am. That's why you keep getting those raises, sir, ma'am. That's why you're prosperous in the world of academia, in college, sir, ma'am. That's why you're able to live in the wealthy place. That is where your success is coming from. Because God is like a tree that is always green, giving his fruit to you all through the year, day after day. In Psalms chapter 47, verse 4, Psalm chapter 47, verse 4, it says it like this in the New King James Version. It says, he will choose our inheritance for us. And that's exactly what God did. He chose your inheritance, sir, ma'am. He chose for you, Mr. President. He chose who your father was going to be. He chose what he was going to leave behind for you. He chose you to become president in this time and season, sir, but not for reasons that you think. He will choose our inheritance, the excellence of Jacob whom he loves. In the New Living Translation, it says in that first part, he chose the promised land as our inheritance. We did nothing for that. God chose that for us. He did, not us. Remember in Acts chapter 17, verse 26, it says, and he has made from one blood every nation of men to dwell in all the face of the earth. And he has determined their pre-appointed times and the boundaries of their dwellings. Then in the New International Version, in the NIV version of that, it says it like this. From one man, he made every nation of men that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he determined the times set for them and the exact places where they should live. Let me say, he determined the exact places where I should live, the exact timing for me to live there. And he chose the promised land as my inheritance. He will choose our inheritance. Oh, he did all of this. Yes. So then what do I have to boast about then? Nothing. Because he did it. In First Chronicle, chapter 29, 1 Chronicle, chapter 29, verses 12 and 16. 1 Chronicle, chapter 29, verses 12 and 16. It says, both riches and honor come from you. Wow. And you reign over all. In your hand is power and might. Wow. In your hand it is to make great and to give strength. Oh, it's because of you, God, that I'm where I am, and I have the strength that I have, and I have the ranking that I have, and I have the position that I have. O Lord our God, verse 16, all this abundance that we have prepared to build you a house for your holy name is from your hand and is all your own. All that we have to build and have the houses built that we live in, sir, ma'am, comes from God's hand. In Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6 in the New King James Version, it says it like this. So he answered and said to me, this is the word of the Lord to Zerubbabel, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord. Wow. Nothing to do with you. In Judges chapter 7, verses 1 through 7, Judges chapter 7, verses 1 through 7. And this is in the New King James Version, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges. It says in verse 1, then Zerubbabel, that is Gideon, And all the people who were with him rose early and encamped beside the well of Harod, so that the camp of the Midianites was on the north side of them and by the hill of Morah in the valley. And the Lord said to Gideon, the people who are with you are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel claim glory for itself against me, saying, my own hand has saved me. He said, look, Gideon, I want you to go to battle, but I want you to know there's just too many people out here for me to take you into battle. It's like, well, what do you mean? You always want more people than you have enemy, or at the least you want to equal the amount of enemies you have with the amount of people that you have. But God's doing just the opposite. God said, I don't want you to have so many that you can say when you win the battle, my hand and my strength and my might saved me. Now, therefore, verse 3, proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, whoever is fearful and afraid, let him turn and depart at once from Mount Gilead. He said the way that he was going to lessen the number of people, he said, look, apparently some of you are afraid. Those of you who are afraid, go home. Go home. And 22,000 of the people, wow, returned and 10,000 remained. So now you got more than half of the people turned back and went home. Wow. More than double the amount of people who left. Isn't that something? But the Lord said to Gideon, man, the people are still too many, Gideon. Bring them down to the water and I will test them for you. So now God is saying, look, it's still too many people. We got to go through another test to eliminate other people. And the test was that the people had to bend down and drink water from the river or the lake or whatever, from whatever they were drinking from. And God said, the ones who bend down and put their face to the water, get rid of them. Why? Because they're not going to be good for the fight, because they're not going to be alert and they're not going to be paying attention to the enemy. But the ones who drink from this water and they lop like a dog, yet they stay alert and they're looking around at the same time that they're drinking, those are the ones that you keep. So let's read it. Bring them down to the water and I will test them for you there. Then it will be, and understand God, all this testing, God never has to test you to do anything. God knows you. God knows about you. Bring them down to the water and I will test them for you there. Then it will be that of whom I say to you, this one shall go with you, the same shall go with you. And of whomever I say to you, this one shall not go with you, the same shall not go with you. So he brought the people down to the water. And the Lord said to Gideon, everyone who laps from the water with his tongue as a dog laps, you shall set apart for him by himself. Likewise, everyone who gets down on his knees and drinks, separate him. And the number of those who lapped, putting their hands to their mouth, was 300 men. And the Lord said to Gideon, by the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and deliver the Midianites into your hand. Let all the people go, every man to his place. God is so serious about you not taking the glory for the things that he does, for the wealthy place that he brings you into, the place of success that he brings you into. He doesn't want your success to be something that you can gloat over, as our president does continuously. Sir, you are not to do that. You are not supposed to do that. Christian people, church, why are you not telling him this? Mrs. Paula White, why are you not telling him these things, ma'am? You're supposed to be in his ear. Why are you not telling him these things? Let all the other people go home. Every man to his place. Why did all of this occur? Because God said, I don't want you to say in the end, my own hand has saved me. That's what happens after the success comes. We bump our heads and forget and start twisting it up. Yeah, don't get it twisted. The name of this title, don't get it twisted. Psalm chapter 147, verse 10. Psalm chapter 147, verse 10, it says like this: He does not delight in the strength of the horse. God don't want you to think that the strength of your horse delivers you. He takes no pleasure in the legs of a man. God don't want you to have anything necessarily that will cause you to get the big head and think that it's you who's delivering yourself, that it's you who's becoming successful, that it's you who steps out and battle the things that you battle, and you overcome those things, and you find yourself in the wealthy place, and you find yourself with success, whether success in college, success on the job, success in your family, success in comparison to other people. God don't want you to think that is you in that manner. Even though it is you, it's not. Proverbs chapter 28. Proverbs chapter 28. And it says it like this: He who trusts in his own heart is a fool. Wow. But whoever walks wisely will be delivered. If you trust in your own heart, your own might, your own abilities, wow, you're a fool. The Living Bible says it like this: a man is a fool to trust himself, to think that it's you, to think that you put yourself there. Wow. Wow. Isn't that something? Okay. We'll end it right there. We won't go any further in this recording. I hope that you can understand what God is saying through these verses and how these verses may apply to your life, and how these verses may be needed for you in order to apply it when God does bring you into your wealthy place. When he does bring you to that place of success, that you don't bump your head and get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Let's continue on into the next recording, part 3.